You must live. Death is not an option. The world needs you, needs Hokuto Shinken. To right the many wrongs that plague the land. As Rei's words echoed through his mind, Kenshiro left Mamiya's village once again. His next target, Sauser, the Holy Emperor. The man that even Rao had avoided fighting. The horrible tyrant who enslaved the masses to build his Holy Cross mausoleum. With Rao wounded from his fight with Kenshiro, the balance of power had shifted. And now only Kenshiro had the strength to challenge Sauser. He would not run. He would not falter. For his fallen allies. For the people who cowered in fear. He must follow his path, illuminated by the North Star.
Any who try to defeat me will feel the rage of my fists.
You do what you must.
Chapter 9. Rampage of the Nanto.
Any who stand in my way shall feel the fury of my fists.
Looks like some good workers here. The Holy Cross mausoleum will be complete in no time.
The Holy Imperial Army! Help! Help us, someone!
The Holy Imperial Army isn't looking so holy. Maybe they could pass for Imperial? Maybe. That might be a bit of a stretch. Right here you may be thinking, man, 24 goons against just 3 villagers? That's a little bit unfair. Well, I've got both good and bad news for you. These are not villagers, my friends. These are members of the Resistance. They are fighting back, as you can see by their swords. They're not interested in running away in fear, which means they get hit more often. And since we're interested in joining in on this whole resistance thing, it's probably in our best interest to protect them and follow them everywhere. Which means this entire level is basically one big escort mission, and I'm actually a huge fan of that. They changed a few things, a few crucial minor details to make the escort mission a lot more enjoyable than the others in the game so far. We'll get to what those are in a moment, but right now we just have 3 more thugs to deal with, and then we can see where we can sign up to join the Resistance. What papers we have to fill out and who we have to answer to, that kind of stuff. We may be a big wrecking ball, but wrecking balls are no good if you don't know where to wreck things at.
I've never seen anything like this! You must be him! Please, you have to meet with our leader.
With you as an offering, I'll be let into the Holy Imperial Army for sure!
We start off with just 3 militiamen, but we get more as we go on. I think we get up to 8 or 11. I think it might be 11. Damn, there are a lot of explosive barrels in this tunnel. I'm not sure what function those could have possibly served, but I know what they're being used for now. So in a bit of interesting story, these thugs we're beating right now are not actually part of the Imperial Army, they just want to be part of the Imperial Army. That means there must be some kind of perks to it, otherwise why would they want inside? I mean, presumably you get fed if you're part of the Holy Imperial Army, so that might be it by itself. You may have already noticed that the militiamen do not huddle together like the villagers. They tend to run around and actively attack the enemies, which is bad if you're trying to save them. But they don't really do the whole sitting back thing.
Thanks! I was worried there for a minute.
Woo! Die, punks!
I believe this is the last group that we're going to get to join us. Now, something special about these militiamen is that after they join our party, they all get names. So you don't get notifications like, oh no, Militiaman 12 died. You get notifications like, oh no, Yoshi died. And you might not know these people very well, but the fact that they have names and you get notifications for each one makes you feel a lot more attached to saving them. There's also the fact that they join you in combat and they actively rush after the enemies. Does that make them harder to save? Yes. But it also makes you feel more attached to them, because you understand that they're in this with you. They're not letting you do this alone. You are clearly stronger, but that doesn't stop them. You're doing this co-op whether you like it or not. The only unfortunate downside to them having names and identities is the fact that if they die before you recruit them, then you don't get to see a notification. Tetsu always seems to be the first one to get into trouble because he tends to run off on his own a lot. I don't know if he's programmed to be the one that does that the most or anything like that, but he always seems to be the one who gets hurt first. And you can't really use the strategy that we did back when we were in Cassandra, where you just use your wide attack all of the time, because the enemies aren't focusing on a central location, because the militiamen are not in a central location. The only reason I'm using Steel Shredding Grip right here is to show you that it can hit multiple enemies. It's just not very good at it. And besides, we're gonna use those Spirit Reserve units right now anyway to use our Hyper Signature move. You know, the Compassionate Flying Slash. Yoshi, goddammit. It's very hard to make it through this level without at least one casualty. And in my experience, you'll often have up to 4. If you try your best, you're probably going to save most of them, but there's no guaranteed way to save everybody, because they are rather spread apart and you're only one person. It may seem like a downside that it's so difficult to save everybody, and I've never even done it successfully, but I actually think it's a good thing, because it adds more to the atmosphere of the situation in a game that is already very point-focused. So I don't think it's super necessary to make the militiamen look like more score. I think it's better that they went with this route and made them look like actual people. Even if they're people with vaguely defined personalities that you don't know very well, at least they have names.
Yeah, we'll help you too. Do you think you could climb this cliff?
Now it is time for bad things to happen. The militiamen tend to follow right behind you. And this means that, say, when you choose the wrong pathway up a cliff and a boulder falls down on you, even if you dodge the boulder, they won't, and they'll get plastered with it. And that happens right here. I made a mistake, and they paid for it. Oh well, you gotta live and learn. I mean, I've gotta live and learn. They don't have to live. It's just nice if they do. You can take out every single one of these guys before your militiamen get here, if you use the Awakening of the Senses. And I think I only missed one, unfortunately, but that was near perfect. No, I got them all, hell yes. Oh wait, no, there he is. If he would have moved just a little bit to the left or right, he would have been in on the party instead of having to be killed separately by being tossed against a van really hard. This is actually one of the shorter levels in the game, even if you do go for the extra stuff, which, well, we're not gonna do that. I like that all the militiamen have different weapons. It's not just swords or spears, some of them even have arrows.
We're done for.
And where do you think you're going?
I'm a little afraid of the dark. You don't have a light, do you?
I mean, I would not really call this dark, but sure, I'm sure we can figure something out. A couple of notifications appear at the bottom of the screen telling us what to do, and the camera even zooms back to the woodpile. So it's not really a matter of challenge, but this is still my favorite part of the level for a couple reasons. The first reason is that it's an interaction with the militiamen besides just protecting them. Makes them seem like they have some sort of personality, that they have needs and wants, beyond just not dying. Having to lead them personally through this tunnel makes you feel a lot more attached as well, at least it did to me. It made me feel very guilty when one of them died. The second reason I like it is because as soon as these guys get to one of the areas you lit up... Oh no, an ambush! Thankfully, in this instance, the enemies only come from one direction, so it's not too hard to get them. Your militiamen still run straight at them, though, even during an ambush. And I actually did not see this ambush coming the first time. So my militiamen were utterly decimated by it because I was way up further in the tunnel lighting the second pile of wood. This is one of the few situations in this level where your area attack is very useful. It's very likely for one of your militiamen to die here. But if you know it's coming, then should be reasonably easier. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's pick this back up. Light it again, and let's lead them the rest of the way through this tunnel.
This way! Come on!
I assure you that there is no particular reason why I got the softness ripping slash prepared. I mean, what would I even need it for? Sometimes the militiamen get lost on the way here, but they eventually find their way. And oh no, another ambush! Who could have seen this coming? As a quick note, the compassionate flying slash is a lot better at clearing enemies out than the softness ripping slash. But you want to be careful about when you use that, for obvious reasons. It's good that we managed to get these guys all in a corner. It makes them easier to deal with, and makes them less likely to hit our fellows. That's what we have here. We have fellows. This is a fellowship. It is a very hastily made fellowship, but fellowships are only made in the hardest of times. And it doesn't make what we're doing here any less important. Because saving people's lives is kind of a big deal. Another spiky commander has appeared. Fortunately, we can destroy him and his goons as soon as he spawns, like immediately. I wish I could have gotten them all, but getting rid of the commander and leaving only 3 normal enemies left is a pretty good deal, all things considered. And it's highly unlikely that just these 3 enemies are going to be able to deal significant damage to our allies. I mean, I guess it's just 1 now. 0. Right up next, believe it or not, is an area that's even harder than the one we just went through. Harder to defend from, I mean. It's just a giant wad of enemies, like a huge wad. And they attack in one big group, so if they hit your militiamen, that's just it. Game over. Of course, the solution to this is to taunt them, because when you taunt them, they go where you want them to go. And they attack you instead of your militiamen. And the group was big enough that they gave us the softness ripping slash, which we can use to destroy the rest of them. if we can get them in a pile. This is the best possible way I could think to handle this situation.
You're going down!
It was important for me to turn the volume up there so you could hear the militiamen cheering for us, because I love that. Even after we defeat those guys, a commander still spawns after that. And if you used your hyper signature move on the normal enemies, then you're out of luck here. But we've learned since the very tutorial to save our hyper signature moves for these guys. And that's good, because if a commander hits your allies, then they're gonna die much faster, especially ones with weapons like this guy.
Thank you. We would have never made it without your help. Our leader is right through there. You've saved us. I don't know what we would have done without you.
Attack! Crush every last one of them!
Everything's crumbling before our very eyes. You'll pay for this atrocity, Sauser!
We are near the very end of the level now, but a group of Sauser's army managed to get inside the resistance camp, which means none of them can leave alive. Because if Sauser learns where this place is, then everything's ruined. Fortunately, no one needs to worry about that because we are super duper good at killing things. After this guy is the last commander of the level, and I planned to defeat him without getting hit, but instead I run up right next to him and get bitch slapped. We are, of course, saving our Spirit Reserve units for the boss. We don't want to waste them here, because this is right before the boss battle. And even though the boss battle has some crates lying around with stuff in it for us, we need all the help we can get. This fight isn't easy. I wouldn't say it's Rao hard, but it's still pretty difficult. And here, for the very first time, you get to see an enemy successfully execute a grab on me. It doesn't deal nearly as much damage as you'd expect it to. But then again, we only take real damage when we're in a state of meridian shock like our enemies usually are. Or when they just hit us over and over and over without stopping. That works too.
The southern stars fade, the northern stars will shine. You and I were destined to meet like this.
You want to know why Hokuto Shinten is the greatest fighting style of them all? You'll soon find out.
You must defeat me if you wish to bring an end to the darkness. My name is Shu. I am one of the 6 Nanto masters trained in the art of Nanto Hakuroken. People refer to me as the Blind Warrior.
Raoul, Sauser, and now this man? Yet a man who wishes to rule the land.
Welcome to the boss fight against Shu. Shu is exactly like Yuta, except stronger and way harder in every single way. He shares a lot of Yuta's moves and really likes to flip around everywhere, which makes him hard to juggle. What's worse, though, is that he's not afraid of going into the corner with you. Unlike Yuta, who doesn't have any particularly spectacular combos and tends to stay out in the open, Shu has a lot of spectacular combos. And he is very good at backing you into a corner with them instead of the other way around. The first phase is a bit slower, as it always tends to be, but even in his first phase, he's still stronger than Yuta as a whole. He already has that cross-like projectile, which is incredibly difficult to dodge and cannot be blocked.
Feel the true power of Nanto Hakuroken.
After Shu enters his second form, it's time to go get some fucking items. Hopefully Spirit. Shu Shu is a lot more aggressive in his second form. He will follow you everywhere. He will use his projectile relentlessly, even at close range. He is notably still weak to the steel shredding grip. Oh hey look, it's that combo that Yudi used, only way more painful. He doesn't deal that much damage, but the boss fights in this game can get pretty brutal either way because they slowly wear you down. It's all about finding an opening, and if you can't find an opening, then the second phase is going to be hell because the characters refill their health. Thankfully, we can still break his block using our uppercut kick, but as was already established, he's a lot harder to juggle than most of the other bosses we fought so far, including Raoul. It's really great if you can manage to hit him from behind, but he tends to move so fast as to make that very difficult.
It seems it will take more than childish tricks to best you.
Please, Ken, don't hurt him! He saved Bat and me!
It's true! He's one of the good guys!
I apologize. I felt the only way to gauge your true ability was to risk my life to test it.
It is you. I remember now. You saved my life by giving up your sight.